All right, guys, so the other day we talked about some of the executive orders that Trump signed on his first day. I got more of them here for you. This is truly incredible. And this is one of those things where, the MAGA base is never going to abandon Trump. He has his floor, I want to say his floor is like 30%. It's about that same number that we saw on January 8th, or January 7th, I should say, right after the violence on January 6th. I believe his floor is 28%, 30%, roughly thereabouts, right? And now everybody else could leave him, but there's some core that's just never going to leave him. Because the stuff he was doing his first day, he was spitting in every American's eye. He was putting his middle finger up to the face of every American. And the media didn't do a good job covering it, and his base covered from every step of the way, and was still pretending like he's some hero as he signs the world's worst executive orders, objectively speaking. This isn't just like, oh, it's Kyle's partisan take to this case. No, you tell me. Let's walk through it, and you tell me, right? These should be put directly in the face of MAGA and say, is this thing good or bad? Don't say any other words. Good or bad? Go. Let's start with this one. Trump has repealed a Biden executive order mandating ethical behavior from administration employees. The order told federal workers to, number one, not accept gifts from lobbyists. Number two, not take other bribes. Number three, not lobby for 2 years after government work. Now those rules are gone. Now they're gone. So MAGA, let me ask you, is it good or bad to get rid of this? Is that good or bad? Literally any honest person would say this is bad. Basically what Trump did is he said, let's make the government more corrupt. Let's make the government more corrupt. That's what he did. Drain the swamp. Drain the swamp. This is filling the swamp. You are filling the swamp. This is you going, I love corruption. I love bribery. I want the people around me to cash in, which of course biases their decision-making process in favor of the people who are giving them money and against the will of the American people. And this is what he did. This is what he got rid of. There is literally no coherent, logical argument for doing what he did, other than just being honest. I love corruption. I love corruption. I think this is how the government should work, right? Now, MAGA, what happened? What happened to drain the swamp? What happened to his anti-establishment? Literally day one, this executive order blows that up completely. Not even close. Not even close. The conversation's not even interesting. It's stale. It's boring. It's clear. We know who this guy is. He is the swamp. All right, we're not done. We're just getting started. Here we have Trump. I'll show you the video here. Here he is signing the executive order to pull out of the Paris Climate Agreement. Isn't that wonderful? Here we go.
Thank you, sir. The next item here is the withdrawal from the Paris Climate Treaty.
Look at those fucking idiots in the crowd, dude. Look, we got to call it what it is. Right now, we're experiencing climate change-induced disaster. We saw it in LA, the fires raging in LA. In the middle of wet season, it's fucking bone dry because of climate change. We saw it in Western North Carolina recently with that massive storm that basically wiped out Western North Carolina. That was climate change induced. We're even seeing it with, this polar vortex, this Arctic air that is covering the United States right now. We just had a fucking snowstorm in Florida and New Orleans and South Texas. Now you look at that, Kyle, what? That has nothing to do with climate change. It absolutely does, and you can go read about it. You don't have to take my word for it. Basically what happens is, since the Arctic is warming 4 times faster than the rest of the globe, that you knock the Arctic air, which usually is centered right over the Arctic, it gets knocked off and comes way down past where it normally would come down. So yes, the fact that we have this polar vortex is directly linked to climate change. Records were broken yet again. The past 10 years, in the aggregate, have been warmer than any ever. We've already passed the 1.5 degrees Celsius warming point that the Paris Climate Agreement said, don't go over this line. Guys, again, this isn't debatable. How far away are permanent Dust Bowl conditions where the growing seasons are all fucked up? And then what happens when our food systems are all fucked up? What happens when there's wars over water? These are things people haven't thought about, right? Because we've been the frog in boiling water all along. And here's this fucking colossal idiot who says that climate change is a Chinese hoax, pulling us out of the Paris Climate Agreement, and he's going to try to triple down and quadruple down on more oil drilling until the fucking penguins are on fire. By the way, they go on to lie about, oh, this executive order saves us $1 trillion. You're right, I'm sure. Such deficit hawks. They blew a giant hole in the deficit by giving tax cuts to billionaires and corporations. But I know, you're such fucking deficit hawks. And that's why you're tanking the Paris Climate Agreement. Trump signs an executive order to withdraw from the World Health Organization. That's great. Right as, I'm sure you've seen the stories, there's concern now about bird flu. Right? That the next pandemic might be about to make the jump to humans and become highly transmissible. You know what else he did? He signed an order that said, like, the CDC and all of our domestic health agencies, shut up. Shut up. You got to stop communications. You got to stop putting stuff out to the public. We're halting all that right now. Why? Why would you do that? Why would you tell even our domestic health agencies to shut up? So no health updates. We don't know, like, you know, what's going on with this stuff. I mean, this is, again, there's not even a logical, coherent argument for what he's doing here. This is just a fucking wrecking ball. That's what this is. This is Project 2025 come to life. All right, more. This one we've been talking about a lot lately. Trump has rolled back a Biden order that mandated negotiations to lower the cost of drugs for people using Medicare and Medicaid. Medicare had just announced 15 more drugs whose prices they were going to bring down in negotiations with Big Pharma. Let me repeat that. He rolled back an executive order that lowered the cost of drugs for people on Medicare and Medicaid. So in other words, on day one, Trump signed an executive order to raise drug prices. What part of this is America first? What part of this is make America great again? What part of this is drain the swamp? To me, what this looks like is you are Big Pharma's bitch. Because you are Big Pharma's bitch. Because you're a bitch to all of the robber barons. Just look at your inauguration. Why did Jeff Bezos have a better seat? Jeff Bezos and his girlfriend and Elon Musk and the rest of these fucking charlatans, these robber barons, why did they have better seats than your own cabinet did? We know why. We know why. Because this is government of, by, and for the robber barons. That's what it is. That's how you get a government that does something like what you just looked at right here. I have many criticisms of the Democrats, and many of the Democrats also take pharma money, and that biases them in many respects. This is why Kyrsten Sinema killed lower drug prices for all drugs. She made it so it's only certain drugs, right? But the Republicans took that corruption and put it on steroids and human growth hormone. And now you have the president signing an executive order to effectively raise drug prices. There is no, like, that's the thing. The whole false equivalence conversation, right? The both sidesism, it's got to die. It's got to die. This is not like, this isn't close. This isn't fucking close. Biden signs an executive order to lower drug prices, and Trump does the exact fucking opposite. Takes it away, raises your drug prices. Now, again, you know, I was told by many, well, but as soon as MAGA sees what Trump is doing, they'll hold him accountable if he starts to go astray. Does it look like that's happening? Does it look like that's happening? Quite the opposite. They're doing fucking cartwheels and jumping jacks, and they're excited. They're out in the street saying, oh, one of the Hodge twin idiots was like, oh, Donald Trump did more in 1 day than Joe Biden did in 4 years. Oh. He did stuff like this. You happy? Does that make you happy? Raising drug prices for grandma? Trump tried to sign an executive order to end birthright citizenship. The only problem with that is birthright citizenship is literally in the Constitution, and there's like no other remotely plausible interpretation, right? So even Trump is going to hit a brick wall with this. There's already like 18 attorneys general who are suing him over this. And look, even with right-wing courts, they're going to say, no, they're right. Birthright citizenship is part of the United States of America. You can't get rid of it. But he literally tried to sign an executive order to get rid of birthright citizenship. Think about how crazy that is. That's like if a Democrat went in there and tried to sign an executive order that said, no more Second Amendment. If a Democrat president signed an executive order saying, the Second Amendment is null and void by this executive order, what would the right say? They would laugh in your fucking face, right? But Trump does that, effectively the same thing vis-a-vis immigration. All right, more. Revive the Schedule F order that could initiate a civil service purge. Again, we've been warning you about this. This is Project 2025 come to life. The idea is the entire regulatory state, the entire administrative state, just destroy it. Like, no more Department of Education, no more CDC, no more FDA. no more Consumer Financial Protection Bureau or FTC or SEC. Like, they will abolish every agency they can get away with abolishing, and the ones that remain, they'll just handcuff them so they can't do dick. That's what the goal is. And he already started the process. In other words, when he went out there and said, I don't know anything about Project 2025, I don't even know what you're talking about. This proves he 100% knows, and he's 100% doing it. Of course, he had the pardons for the January 6 rioters, and he ordered investigations in the Biden administration. Okay. I love this one here, too. Let me show you this. Trump canceled reproductiverights.gov, which helped women find health care. That's great. That's great. I even saw mumblings, I don't know if this is true or not, but mumblings of like they pulled the Constitution page down from the government website, like unhinged, unchained, no brakes in the car. Here we are. Just like we warned you it was going to be. Just like we warned you it was going to be. It's dark, bro. This is really, really, really dark. This is as dark as it gets. And guess what? We got 4 fucking years of this. And we'll talk more in a different segment either later today or tomorrow about the war with Mexico stuff. That's already popping off. That is already popping off. Palestinians being betrayed, already happening. Day 1 shit. Day 1. So, yeah, let's see all the MAGA sycophants try to go out there and defend this. If you're defending this shit, let's be clear. If you're defending this shit, you are just dishonest. And you're probably getting paid by robber barons. You're probably getting paid by right-wing think tanks. That's the only way somebody can get out there and defend making the executive branch more corrupt, as Trump directly did, and raising drug prices. That's the only way you can make those arguments, is if you're bought, if you're a hack. And there's a lot of paid hacks on the right. Let me tell you, there's a lot of money on the right, and there's a lot of paid hacks on the right. And there's very few people who are going to come out here and tell you the truth. There's also very few people who are just going to do the basic, let's go through the executive orders exercise like we just did right here. That you're not going to see that. You're not going to see that. And this, you would think this is like politics 101. You would think mainstream media is doing all that right now, and you would think new media is doing all that right now. You go check. Let me know. Let me know how that's going. Mainstream media is not going to do nearly as much of it as they should, and the right are just going to ignore all the executive orders they don't like, the executive orders that are objectively bad, and they're going to play up the ones that they support. Right? That's what's going to happen. Our media landscape is destroyed. You're surrounded by dishonest hacks who are bought and paid for. Right? And so it's on us to go out there and tell you the truth. But now you know the truth. Nobody who's honest can defend this stuff. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.